12 Ways to Improve Children's Language Speaking Skills. No matter your child is learning Mandarin Chinese or Cantonese language, a lot of parents usually have the following misunderstandings regarding their children's language learning and verbal expression ability. First, they believe that anyone can speak, and children live in this environment, and they will make it clear when they grow up. Second, they think it's unnecessary to cultivate children's spoofing skills. They can speak out so that others can understand them. Parents and other concepts can cause great obstacles to children's oral development and affect their communication, and even thinking skills. Parents inadvertently neglect to respond. It may be too late to cultivate children's abilities in this area by the time problems are discovered. For example, when I was very young, my father went to work outside our city, and my mother worked very hard too. After work, I had to do housework and was so tired that I didn't want to say a word. When I reached the age of speaking, I would utter a few words from time to time, but my mother just pretended not to hear them, and just took care of her own business. When I was a little older, I began to pester my mother to tell stories, but she often said impatiently until I went to kindergarten. Compared with the children in the Chinese classes, I just seemed extremely timid. I didn't dare to speak. Then my mother became anxious.
So how should parents help their children improve their language skills? 1. Talk to your children more. Many parents don't know that the foundation of children's language learning is imitation. Therefore, parents must speak to their children more and familiarize them with the language in order to keep their children highly sensitive to language. This is the first level of language training for children. From birth, adults must talk to him more to form a language environment, and the baby's language development preparation period is within 1 year old. After 1 year old, parents should consciously train the baby to speak, and combine language when doing every action, which is more conducive to the improvement of the baby's language expression ability. For example, when taking the baby to sleep, say to the baby, "Now I'm going to sleep." This process is an important way to teach the child to understand the action and finally internalize it into language. In daily life, parents should stimulate their babies to talk more. For example, the baby points to the orange and expresses what he wants. When the mother brings the oranges, it is best to squat down to let the baby see the oranges, and then say to the baby, "Here you are, the oranges." In this way, the baby hears the voice and sees the mouth shape of the adult, and it is easier to imitate it. It's best for mothers to sell them and say to the baby, "Oranges." When the baby says the word oranges, the mother can give the oranges to the baby. When the baby is talking to himself in front of toys and other objects, the mother should be happy, because the baby is practicing speaking. Before the age of 6 is a critical period for the baby's language development. The age of 2 to 3 is a critical period for the baby's oral language development. At this stage, the baby's ability to hear and imitate language is very strong. Missing this period, the area of the left hemisphere of the brain that controls language is not fully developed, which will cause the baby's language development ability to be slow or stagnant, and it will be difficult to make up for some life.
2. Be sure to let the child have something to say. Try to find topics that your child is interested in to discuss with your child. Don't get out of the child's cognitive scope, so that the child can speak it out. For example, if you ask your children to write an article about, "If I'm a store manager," the children will definitely not be able to write it, because the children don't have any perceptual knowledge of the role of store manager. How can they write a good article? For children to learn oral expression, they must arouse their enthusiasm. Let them feel that they have something to say, and make children's thinking fully active, because language is always moving with thinking. 3. Let the children observe more and discuss more. Observing various things more can enable children to expand their horizons, increase their knowledge, and have content in their speech. When children are observing, guide them to see the object clearly and give guidance in words, such as telling them the name and characteristics of the affairs, nature, purpose, and relationship with people. In this process, We must consciously teach them some new vocabulary, teach them the correct pronunciation, and also ask them some questions for them to discuss. This will naturally exercise the child's oral ability. 4. Let children fully express their wishes. When a child proposes an understanding of a matter, no matter whether the child's idea is correct or not, and what the result is, parents should not obliterate the child's enthusiasm, because this is the child expressing his wishes, and the important thing is to let him speak it out, and don't care about what he said, right? Here must be patient to listen to the children's thoughts. Do not interrupt halfway, interrupt once. The child's enthusiasm will be reduced by 1 point. 5. Let the children speak more and practice more. Language is developed in practice. To cultivate children's oral English skills, they must speak and practice more. The more practice mentioned here mainly refers to giving children more opportunities to tell their own experiences, including retelling stories they have heard, telling the content of books, composing stories, and talking with others in daily life. Children should be allowed to organize the language creatively according to their knowledge, vocabulary, and grammar. There are many ways to cultivate language ability. Parents should be good at focusing on their children's physical and psychological characteristics, seizing his interests, toys, games, cartoons, etc., choosing the right time for language training.
6. Create a good language environment. In recent years, a large number of research results have shown that the development of a baby's language ability depends to a large extent on the family environment. And this kind of environment includes the language level of family members, cultural accomplishment, family book collection situation, and so on. If family members speak vulgarly and have poor vocabulary, they will inevitably affect the baby negatively. In particular, parents who have the most contact with their babies must pay attention to improving their cultural literacy and the beauty of language, so that every word of their own can become a model for their babies to imitate. Parents must pay attention to creating a Mandarin-speaking environment for their babies and use standardized language to teach them. When parents speak, they should first make themselves correct pronunciation, rich vocabulary, concise and understandable language, and comply with grammatical norms. That is, they should pay attention to training the baby with standard language and speed up the process of learning the language. Talking between adults and babies is an important way to cultivate your baby's language skills. When parents talk to the baby, they should slow down, speak clearly, and have a gentle and kind tone. Do not speak to the baby in a harsh tone, let alone intimidate the baby. Say something that the baby is jealous of or say bad things about others in front of the baby. When speaking to your baby, use more positive and encouraging language. Avoid using negative language. Use more questions to talk to your baby, and less use of commands to tell your baby to do things. Language has a strengthening effect on the baby's behavior. For good behaviors, parents should speak more and encourage more. For bad behaviors, try to play down as much as possible. It is best to talk less, or talk to the baby from other angles and positive aspects. Communicate. 7. Increase vocabulary. If a child wants to speak clearly and organized, he must have a rich vocabulary for the child to use when expressing. To increase children's vocabulary, in addition to listening and speaking, a lot of reading is needed to build a rich vocabulary in the future. In addition, play vocabulary solitaire with children more often and find opportunities for children to be small messengers. Spread words for you to other people. It can also enrich children's vocabulary and enhance expression skills. Watch less TV. It is said that today's children spend more than 20 hours on television every week on average. Parents should limit the time their children can watch TV, and it is enough to watch TV 7 to 10 times a week. Give children plenty of time to read. Through reading, children can more easily understand the grammatical structure and learn correct language expression. Parents should try their best to find some wonderful short articles for children to read, so that they can understand the structure of language materials, experience the charm of the articles and the conciseness of the language. This is an important exercise project to improve children's language expression ability.
8. Explore in social life. Let the children get in touch with social life. Take them to parks, shopping malls, bookstores, etc. on holidays, and then take no time to guide the children to tell what they have seen, heard, thoughts and feelings. In this way, the children will enhance their understanding of language through personal experience. At the same time, children can't help but use words to express their feelings. Nature and the big society are living teaching materials. Outdoor activities are a great opportunity to enrich children's vocabulary and develop children's language. Adults must seize it and make use of it. For example, when you take a young child to the park to play during the spring outing, you can ask your child to remember the new things you saw in the park and tell your parents or grandmother when you go back. During the play, mothers should consciously tell the children something new, such as the spring branches growing tender leaves. The flowers in the garden are blooming. Some are red, some are yellow, some are white. The colorful ones are really beautiful. The grass on the ground it grows out, green and detailed. When the activity is about to end, the mother can inspire the child. Go back. What do you want to tell mom and dad? At this time, the child will definitely say what he saw one by one. If the expression is not complete and clear, the mother must help the child to sort it out. 9. Provide performance opportunities. Some children are always nervous when talking. To change this situation, the appropriate way is to give him more opportunities to speak in front of everyone. Start with the practice of speaking in front of family members, and then gradually expand to relatives, friends and even strangers. When the child gradually gets used to expressing opinions in front of others, the tension will gradually disappear, and it can also train the child's courage. 10. Teach children to learn to speak in singing activities. For some children who are introverted and not talkative, we can't force the child to talk to you, but we can use singing to let the child learn to speak. Singing is a musical art, an expression of the beauty of melody, and an activity with an emotional nature, which is very suitable for children's interest characteristics. 11. Pay attention to step by step. It should be noted that the child's speech is a slow process, and there are many normal developmental patterns. Parents must follow the child's own developmental rules and proceed step by step. Under the premise of not putting pressure on the child, encourage the child to speak more and help the child learn to organize the language so that words can express meaning. 12. Call each other and communicate in time. The way of speaking that cannot rely on context is a good way to train children to speak independently. Calling is a very good way, because when calling, the two people don't see each other in different places, and there is no context to rely on, so be sure to explain everything clearly. This kind of training allows children to call their elders or companions to tell them what you are doing, or what you see or hear, or buy a toy phone. When the child and the adult do not see each other in or outside the room, talk about what you are doing, what you want, etc. Parents and children can also pretend to perform phone call sketches to practice how to make things clear.